I would say I'm going to try to be brief, but I'm not. I'm going to take my time dissecting this chapter and share my thoughts, because this was one of those chapters. This is one of those chapters where you are super excited, and also there's that underlying feeling of just badness, because you know One Piece is going on a month break, an entire month break. But either way, we're going to cherish this one, okay? So One Piece chapter 1053, the Gorosei. Let's start there with the Gorosei. They seem incompetent. They seem like they don't know what's going on. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. If I was Imu, right, if I was their boss, at least a couple of them would have been fired. How wouldn't they have been fired yet? They seem so incompetent at times. I remember when we'd go to the Gorosei, it's like, oh man, they have it all together. They are like a board. They're sophisticated. They understand the inner workings of the world. Now it's just like, wait, we can't, the print, take it, reeling, scrambling, always just, that seems to be where they are. And of course, things are kind of getting to a fever pitch because Luffy is getting stronger, Luffy's getting more influence, other people are growing, and for them, they really can't keep up. They're old. Time has passed them by. It's time for somebody else to take the reins. But Imu might kill them before that happens, because they have been messing up, and it just seems like that's the feeling now. Incompetence, right? The scene where I mentioned the Gorosei, I'm talking about, where they specifically talk about the D and how they wanted to remove the D from a photo. Now, people assume they're talking about Luffy. I'm like, well, why would they remove the D from Luffy's name when Luffy's name has always had D in the poster? People aren't just gonna forget, right? He's Monkey D. Luffy, not Monkey Luffy, right? It doesn't feel the same. So it's like now removing his D initial, it seems counterproductive. But then you think back to Goldie Roger, I'm sorry. When he was talking to Whitebeard, he said, well, they calling me Gold Roger now, right? Is your name Goldie Roger? He's like, yeah, like that's my name, Goldie Roger. So it's not clear if Roger's name was changed over time, but it's insinuated. So this may be the same thing that they're doing. The only thing is, if y'all are gonna do this, if somebody ends up being special, why even put any D on the bounty posters? That's the disconnect. And for them, Big News Morgan seems to have so much influence. Why don't you control that? You should control that. This should not be all this arduous tasks and who's printing what and propaganda. What you guys should control the media. But I understand in this story what Oda is trying to say is that the media typically should be independent, but this is not that type of party. I thought it was a really interesting start to the chapter because there's so many different things that it was really interesting, right? I was like, man, once I got there, I was like, okay, this chapter is gonna be a banger. We probably don't talk about this enough. Again, Big News's influence and how he shapes the One Piece world with his propaganda and sometimes bringing you the pure news, unedited, unfiltered. This is what's happened. This is what's going on. I respect that about Big News Morgan. And of course, it's to the threat of even his life because the world government, they planted people in his organization. They tried to take him out. And so even at the risk of that, he is all for an independent media where it's not being swayed by the world government, which, you know, that's very hard, especially in this society. Before we get to the bounties of Luffy, Kid, and Law, because we gotta talk about that. If you guys look right above the bounties, right, you can see there's a poster on the building of Sabo where it seems like it's a wanted poster or it could be digital. Either way, Sabo is being displayed. What does this mean? Well, it seems that Sabo is a really wanted man, and now people are trying to find him, which goes back to Sabo will, Vivi will, you know, the message Oda left and everything that transpired at the Reverie. Based on what's occurred and the information we've gotten, one could assume Cobra was kidnapped or killed, and Sabo basically helped Vivi escape. And therefore, you kidnap a princess, that would probably move you up on the wanted list. So Sabo now, he's not only been displayed in regular bounties, this looks a bit different. It looks digital, or it's a big poster saying this guy, right? This guy. And the only thing you can say is he's more than likely wanted. So we'll see what happens from that. Now to Luffy, Zoro, well, Luffy, Law, and Kid, those bounties. Well, disappointing, not as a whole, but for Luffy's bounty, because I know that Luffy deserves more. Luffy is the sun god. Luffy is Joyboy. Luffy put into work. Luffy beat Kaido pretty much by himself after, you know, we got to that point. Law and Kid, they had each other. Why would their bounties be equal? Yes, Kaido's and Big Mom's bounty is over 8 mil, almost 9 mil. Luffy, Law, Kid, together, their bounties equal 9 mil. slightly above Big Mom and Kaido. That's interesting, I guess, but we all know Luffy deserves the most credit for taking down the Yonko. But I do understand the world government's perspective. He's Sun God, he's Joy Boy, we know that now. 3 people took down the Yonko, the Emperors, and Wano. Let's distribute them evenly. Even though Kid is coming from 400 mil, Law is coming from 500 mil, Luffy's at 1.5. This is an opportunity that we get where we can distribute it evenly without it not making sense, because they were in an alliance, right? They don't have to justify it. So very smart, very, very smart by the world government. Is just personally, I'm like, Luffy should be at 4+, right? And then you start to take into consideration to think about other pirates and other, say for instance, the warlords. What's Boa's bounty? What about Mihawk? Does he eclipse 3 bill? How, right? He doesn't have the influence. Doesn't have a crew. Why would they put him over that? How do they value the world's strongest swordsman title? How? We're gonna spend some time talking about this stuff as time goes on. We have a lot of time to kind of get into it, but I think it's really important to assess where we think Luffy should be based on where things are now and why the world government would do this. Again, I presume the real reason is because, again, we don't want everybody to know about this guy, right? And this is a time, a way, an opportunity to suppress. That's how I look at it, right? Let's move on. Jinbei is sitting in this banquet hall by himself. Everyone else is outside partying. Jinbei, the more subdued type. Never really about that type. That's why it's always, well, how is he going to mesh with the crew? We always talked about that. And of course, he's meshing as the older elder statesman, right? That's what he is on the crew. And of course, he has his roles and responsibilities. And again, he's older. For the others, Luffy, Tony, Chopper, they're out there celebrating, having a good time. They've been through a lot. I don't blame them. Celebrate more. Because once it starts, it doesn't stop for a while. One of the more interesting things, and then still bittersweet, is the fact that we find out Robin is alive. Like I've been telling you guys, would not make any sense if Robin was dead or Cap. No, the people, everyone's too happy. But of course, someone could snatch her and leave. That's possible as well. So I was leaving at least that perspective open. Robin is fine. She's just down there with the Kokeshi dolls. Come to find out, Sukiyaki is alive. This is something that spread throughout the community where a lot of people kind of already felt like it was Sukiyaki, especially after the anime confirmed that Sukiyaki and Hitetsu had the same voice actor. It's like, oh, okay, that's pretty obvious. So that led us here where it's like, more than likely this person is Sukiyaki. At first, I was like, what can he say to justify this? I don't want to hear from him. I don't care. There's nothing he can say. But having the discussion and seeing this discussion, it kind of makes sense. Country's in shambles. Son is dead. And again, you're the person that let Orochi in. You're responsible. So in that instance, it's immediate regret. I let my people down. I let my family down. I let myself down. The only issue I had was that if someone is this down on their luck, again, you get out, your country's dead. Your son is dead. What do you have to live for? But he kept on living. They really expound upon him and the reasons why he kept on living, but he kept on living. But again, someone of that magnitude, the fall from grace, the potential liabilities, he would commit seppuku. Now, quickly to Pluton. Now, Pluton is one of the ancient weapons. We don't really have much information on Uranus, and of course Poseidon is Hiroshi. So something that's going on here is that Robin is saying, hey, I know Pluton is here. It said it in Alabasta. You didn't think to tell everyone else? But for Robin, it's like a need to know basis. Y'all didn't need to know, like y'all wouldn't know what to do anyway, so it is what it is. Cool, but you know, would have been nice. But Robin, you know, doesn't communicate. Straw Hats don't communicate. Alabasta said that Pluton was in Wano, so now we're in Wano. And she's confirming with Sukiyaki about Pluton. Frankie at this point remembers how to create an item or weapon or ship that can contest Pluton, which makes me think about the anti-Kaido weapons, because Robin not telling her crew anything. Like if they pulled up to the raid and Kaido just had Pluton waiting on them, it's over. It's over. Common courtesy. That's one of the more difficult things with the Straw Hats, is that they don't really relay information to each other as far as we can see, because this was really important information. If it's saying that in Wano there's Pluton, Frankie, you don't think Frankie be interested? Luffy means, you know, it's just, I don't know. Now to the amazing part of the chapter, we just see people in Udon being impaled. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, which, you know, you can imply or infer, but then we get to 2 other individuals, and bro, when I'm reading this, I have no idea this king and queen. Then after the fact and everything Green Bull is saying, I'm like, wait, what? He's basically saying at my rank, I would basically take an L if I lose to any of you guys or both of you guys. A little messed up. And in the midst of it, he also called them bozos, meaning there's no respect. I don't think you're that good. You're under my shoe. And so therefore, that kind of makes it epic. Like people are saying Greenbow is rubbing them the wrong way because he's a bit arrogant, a bit too ruthless, and he's taking on the persona of Akainu. And it's like, okay, is this you? Or are you just doing this because you assume this is what Akainu would do? You know, it's is difficult there. I do think Greenbull's design is pretty raw, right? He seems like a no-nonsense type guy, but it's clear that he's pretty much emulating Akainu. Now, based off of everything he did to King and Queen, how strong is he? It's hard to say. I just think it's really impressive what he's able to do, even after people write off the admirals, say the admirals aren't that strong. Oh, a commander will be able to hold them off. I wonder how you feel today. You can't feel great because you've been pushing that agenda for a long time. Things probably don't even make sense to you. And you're trying to find ways to justify King and Queen being on the ground, being impaled by Greenbull while saying that they're bozos, bums. If I lost to you, that's my rank. Right? Really love his character design. Got to get more from his character, but his character design is fire. As we get to the latter parts of the chapter, this is something I was spoiled on. Buggy is legit a Yonko of the seas. No gimmicks. Well, I don't know, maybe gimmicks, but how do I feel about it? I think it's pretty interesting. I know some people don't like it because it takes away from the Yonko title for them, but I don't think that's the case. I think Buggy is clearly an exception. We know how Buggy operates. He's not nearly as strong as those guys, but he is resourceful and he has people that follow him and he can manipulate all these different things, right? So Buggy, Shanks, Blackbeard, Luffy, the 4 new emperors. What's happening with Big Mom and Kaido? So yeah, how do I feel about everything that's going on? I believe that this is really hype. It sucks that I got spoiled. But this is really a dope chapter because the chapter doesn't just end off with Buggy and the Yonko bounties. It ends off with Greenbull. And Greenbull saying, well, you guys are really celebrating. Okay, the Marines, we don't have it nearly as well. Things are nasty outside. So, which then begs the question, what else has happened? Who else has made moves? And honestly, who else would have been made a Yonko? I mean, Buggy, we know how that goes, right? It's not a lot that comes with him, but people are saying also, did Shanks go to the Gorosei to warn them about Buggy? Why? But he's building up that catalog, building him up as a podcast. I'm not sure what's gonna happen here, what has to happen, because Greenbull is walking up to these gentlemen, all these different people, all these different pirates, I should say, and he plans to be absolute justice, like Akainu. I mean, he seems like he hasn't taken any prisoners. Everyone has been dying. For Greenbull, I don't know how this works. I don't know how you can go in there and justify Greenbull overcoming these newly minted Yonko. Well, not all of them, but come on. They got overlap. The Admiral agenda is strong today. It feels great. It feels somewhat validated because people are starting to come around and say, you know what, Brog, you might be right. Admirals might be stronger than... Yes, they're stronger than Commander. But it is, hey, it's fun. It's fun. But guys, give me your thoughts. How do you feel about the chapter? We'll talk about more things in depth over the weekend. And, you know, no chapters for a while, but we're going to have a great time, okay? But guys, give me your thoughts. How do you feel about everything? It's crazy stuff. Greenbull, we got bounties. We got, I mean, Sukiyaki's back, right? We got so many different things being announced at the same time. It's just so exciting to be a One Piece fan. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BrogoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at BrogoD.ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys all so much. Again, guys, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
I start doubting me, I felt lost. I rewrite it.